Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Tuesday, May 20th, an ugly Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Rain, wind, perfect day to stay inside, hop on YouTube and check out a fun show. We got a lot to get to. If you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that. There are certain people that watch each and every day, and we thank you guys for doing that. Up over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We love that. If you've subscribed, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP. Tell a friend or two along the way. We are live on X as always, and you can check us out on all the podcasting platforms as well. So make sure you check out the show. Check out yesterday's show as well. We'll talk about that one in just a second, but a lot to get to today. Coming up in just a little bit, in a matter of moments, we'll be joined by Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. A lot to get to with Kyle. Some news yesterday from Iowa women's basketball front, a transfer, a grad assistant. So we'll talk to him about those things. Also, I really want to talk to him about the WNBA opening weekend and how you looked out there and you saw 4 former Hawkeyes on WNBA teams. That's something that you didn't see more than 3 years ago. Obviously, Megan Gustafson was there, but she's changed her game and made it back to the WNBA after going overseas. So talk to him about that. Also, Kyle will be in Omaha for the Big Ten baseball tournament. A disappointing finish for Iowa. Can they bounce back in the Big Ten tournament? We'll talk about that as well. So Kyle Huesmann has a lot to talk about coming up in just a matter of moments. Also, it's a big week for track. State track on both sides of the river, including in Des Moines, where it's the co-ed state track meet. And it's also Hall of Fame inductions as well this weekend, I believe on Saturday. And a familiar face will be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Former Assumption standout Joy Ripslinger will now be a Hall of Famer. We're going to catch up with her in just a little bit in hour number 1 of the show. So great to catch up with her. We'll chat with her later on in the show. And then also, speaking of track and field on the college level, former Maroon standout Rob Pulliam struck gold in the high jump for Illinois State in the Valley Conference meet. He'll join us in hour number 2 of the show as well. So a lot to get to today. I mentioned yesterday, go back and check out yesterday's show. Really honored and privileged to have Katie Hassan join me in studio. I think we probably went 45 minutes. We could have easily done the 2 hours. So many things to talk to her about when it came to her career, Rock Ridge and the legacy that they've built out there with the Rockets. And then also she's been such an important part of the IHSA for a long time. So get her thoughts on what's right and what needs to be kind of fixed moving forward. So check out her interview. Pat Anger was along, and we learned that I think we're going to do a joke swap next week. That's the thing. So, which is dangerous, but Pat, always fun on the show. And then Celia Palermo was on as well. If you watched last night on the Golf Channel, The Drop on the Golf Channel, she hosted it. So former co-worker of mine, covered sports here in the Quad Cities and now doing big things on the PGA Tour. So we talked a lot of golf with her, but also if you missed that, go check it out. Awesome stuff from Celia. Quad Cities should be very proud. It's a good start for the Blackhawk softball team. They won yesterday. They play again today at noon against Jones. They won yesterday against Delaware Tech 8-0. And then also last night, the Iowa State Cyclone Tour, tailgate tour thing was in the Quad Cities. So great to see Bill Fenley, Coach Campbell was there as well, and Coach Otzelberger was there as well. So the big guns out for the Cyclones in the Quad Cities last night. We're going to try to catch up with some Cyclone coaches coming up. We've had, Kirk Ferentz and Brett Bielema. Would be great to have Coach Campbell on as well. So efforting those things as we speak. So a lot of fun on yesterday's show, and we got a great one to get to coming up in just a few moments. I do want to mention the Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing. That thing is coming up quicker than I'm almost ready for. Comes up on June 14th. So if you have not yet signed up for the Guy Randazzo Memorial Golf Outing, we still have 2 teams available. So maybe 3. So hop on up there, GuyRandazzoGolf.com. Check that out. Also, get signed up because there's a lot of great things that happen on June 14th. A lot of great fun out at Highland Springs Golf Course in Rock Island. So a lot to get to on today's show. And joining us now, a familiar face here on Off the Air. And when it comes to Iowa athletics, I think Kyle Huesmann is the engine that drives the Hawkeye Report. I told Tom Caker that earlier today. He agreed with me. It's still a busy time for you, Kyle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's always seemingly a little bit of women's basketball news that comes out, whether it's, some coaching staff stuff or, transfer portal and things like that. And not long from now, you'll have the true freshmen getting to campus. And then obviously we're wrapping up baseball season here with the Big Ten tournament this week. So predominantly baseball still, but, there's always a trickle of women's basketball news that's coming through at this time.
We're going to start with women's basketball. We'll get to the baseball team in a second because we kind of thought that Coach Jensen was going to add another piece. She wanted to add something up front. That happened on Monday. Tell me about Emily Rodriguez. What do you know about the freshman from Central Florida?
Yeah, I think this is a solid addition for Iowa. Kind of like what we talked with Chit Chat, right? Someone that comes from the Power 4 level. Emily Rodriguez was a true freshman at UCF last season in the Big 12 and was a Big 12 all-freshman team selection. So did well enough to earn that honor. Scored in double figures for them and was a rebounder that, had 5-6 rebounds a game. So a solid player as a freshman for a UCF team that was, an average team, but now takes a step up and comes to Iowa. And I think this was a position that Iowa wanted to add. Jan Jensen and the coaching staff wanted to add. They went and got that, that ball handling guard with Chit Chat Wright from Georgia Tech. And obviously with Sita Fulter departing from the roster and not departing the team the whole way, but departing the roster, they knew that they were losing some rebounding in that way. So they wanted to bring in someone that could do that, but also score. And Emily Rodriguez fits that. Averaged 11.9 points per game for UCF, but like I said, averaged five or six rebounds a game, and is someone that can also have those 8, 9, 10 rebound games. Had 6+ rebounds in 10 games, so someone that's going to help them on the glass. It sounded like it was down to Iowa and Indiana. Took official visits to both and landed on Iowa. And I think this is a good addition, though. I think this fits exactly what they were kind of looking for. She's someone that can dribble, drive into the paint, and score that way. Still working on a 3-point shot. Only made 33% as a freshman. But again, as a freshman, to be able to score the way that she did and score in double figures in the Big 12 was a good sign that she is ready for that level of basketball. But I think we've seen over the last couple of years. They had Caitlin Clark, but it seemed like at times they kind of lacked other players that could dribble, drive, and create and things like that. And Lucy Olson helped do that this year, but she's gone now. So Emily Rodriguez is someone that you feel like Chit Chat Wright could probably do that just a little bit. Maybe not score it because she's just on the smaller side, but maybe drive and dish type things. And Kylie Fierbach's shown it at times. I think Addie Deal will be able to do it. The incoming true freshman, the 5-star. But I think Emily Rodriguez is someone that can do it as well, which helps them have a couple more options of players that can dribble, drive, and create in that way. As for where she comes into in the lineup, I said this with Tom yesterday when we were talking. I'm not sure. A lot of it kind of hinges on what they think Addie Deal can do and what she does, from when she arrives on campus to the beginning of the season. Because I think, if Addie Deal comes in, I know she can be a ball handler. I know she wants to be the point guard. If she comes in and takes that point guard job, you're probably going to have Chit Chat Wright coming off the bench. Emily Rodriguez could be that potentially that starting small forward, kind of that 3 position. But if they feel like Addie Deal is better suited to start the season or play an entire freshman season as kind of that off-ball guard position. Not to say that she wouldn't play point guard at all, but predominantly at that off guard position. You could see Chit Chat Wright being your starting point guard, and then potentially Emily Rodriguez off the bench. So either way, Rodriguez is this isn't, an end of the bench type addition. This is someone that's going to have a pretty solid role, a pretty big role, whether it's off the bench or in the starting lineup. But like I said, I think how Addie Deal comes in and what she does is, in those first few months on campus is going to have a big deal in it. And then obviously, the other players, what kind of jumps do they make? What kind of jump does a Taylor Stremlow make, or a Tegan Mulaney or something like that? Do they force their way into a bigger role? But right now, I would say that how they decide to use Addie Deal will have the biggest effect on what happens with the 2 incoming transfers.
Those seems to be good decisions to have to make, Kyle. It seems like they've set themselves up nicely, and it wasn't more than maybe a month ago we were sitting here, and credit where credit is due. You kind of said, be patient and let this thing play out. And that's kind of what they did. And looks like they hit certain needs to put themselves in the position you just talked about, where they'll have options going into next year. And that's nice to have.
Yeah, I think they have, certainly more options than they had like a month or a month and a half ago, and they didn't have a transfer on the roster yet. But I think the good thing is that both Chit Chat Wright and Emily Rodriguez are younger players that both just finished their freshman season. So obviously a lot of room to grow. And both did a pretty good job in the Power 4 level. As freshmen, they didn't look overwhelmed with it. They were able to handle a decent sized load for both their teams, and that's good to see because they do have 3 more years to continue to grow as players. So I think they have a pretty solid team right now. You talk about some of the players they have back, like it's like a Hannah Stolk here, Kylie Fearbach's back, and Taylor McCabe, and obviously that talented freshman class with Ava Hayden, who I think is going to make a big jump. So I think they've got a pretty solid team, but you start to look towards the future and you say, okay, if Emily Rodriguez can take a jump as a sophomore, and then, maybe that junior year is when she's really ready to have a big role. And same with Chit Chat Wright. Can she take another step in her second year at the Power 4 level and be ready for that junior year? That junior year is when you're going to have, second year Addie Deal, that third year with the last year's freshman class. And you start throwing in some of the names that I was going after in that 2026 class. I just wrote an article recently on McKenna Wolitzko, who seemingly looks to be, top 4 or 5, or I was going to be in that top 4 or 5 for her. So I think maybe not next year is the year where you see them make a really big jump. I still think they're an NCAA tournament team, a solid team. Probably similar to this past season, where maybe second round Sweet 16 level. Just right now, that would be my guess. And then when those younger players, because now you have a really big sophomore class. You already had several freshmen. Now you just added 2 more to it. So I think you look at this next year as another one of those kind of building blocks for Jan Jensen. Then hopefully by the time those freshmen or juniors, that's when you're ready to add in some of those high level recruits and start building something that can get a little bit deeper in the tournament.
Yeah, fans were excited this year, and rightfully so, about those freshmen. And obviously Guyton leaves, but you add 2 more players. You lose 1, you add 2. That freshman class that was already big and good becomes even bigger as sophomores. So impressive to see. You mentioned Sydney. Sid now back with the Iowa basketball program in a different role. That was some cool news on Monday, because she's going to stick around and be a grad assistant. Is that something you saw on the horizon at all, or how did this thing maybe come to fruition?
Yeah, I want to say, if I remember it, I had heard, maybe not necessarily with Iowa, but just heard that she was interested in getting into coaching in some way, shape, or form, maybe a grad assistant role at Iowa. But yeah, really cool. I mean, I've covered women's basketball long enough now that I saw Sida Fulter's entire career through at Iowa, which is kind of crazy to say that I've been doing it long enough to see an entire player's career go through.
You're an old man.
Yeah,
Kyle.
I saw three of Caitlin's 4 years, so I didn't see her full thing, but I saw Sida Fulter's all the way through, and I talked to her, on media day of her sophomore year, and then her junior year, and then her senior year, and as a grad assistant, I'll probably talk to her on media day. So I've gotten to see her kind of grow from the younger player to where she is now, and obviously just a great player and a great person, and someone that they want on the staff, and someone that was widely respected by the Iowa, the players and the staff. Was a team captain this past season, kind of to a certain extent took that Kate Martin role in terms of being someone that can be that calming presence on the court and be kind of that leader in the tough moments, and to have her back. Whatever role it is, grad assistant, what was she going to do in that role? To have someone that was that widely respected by both the coaches and the players, I think it'd be nice to have that extra voice on the sideline. I don't know what she would be allowed to do during games. I'd assume it would be kind of like similar to that team manager role where it'd be kind of like a behind the bench type seat. But I think just to have that extra voice, whether it's in practices or things like that, I think this is a pretty good addition. And, it might not be a long-term thing, obviously with the grad assistant title. But I think this is a good springboard for her to go from player to that first level of coaching. And then you see with players all around the country where this turns into maybe, a mid-major level job where you get like an assistant coaching job and then you come back to an Iowa potentially, or then you get your jump to another level. So I think this is just the beginning of Sita Folter's coaching career. And to be honest, I think when Kate Martin's done and decides that she's done with her pro basketball career, I think you'll see her take a similar step where she takes kind of that lower end of the coaching staff job somewhere and works her way up to that Power 4 level. But yeah, I think this is a really good addition to the Iowa coaching staff. I guess if you want to call it to the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And I think Sita Folter is gonna have a great coaching career if she does see it out and wants that to be her career.
Kyle, you mentioned Kate Martin. I want to talk about the WNBA in a second, but we had Kate's dad, Matt Martin, on the show last week, maybe the week before. Yeah, last week. And I asked him, I said, is coaching in Kate's future? And I think it is. He kind of mentioned it would be. Mentioned that Kate wants to have a family too. So she'll have to balance that in and well with everything. But you mentioned Sid kind of took Kate's role from last year. How cool was it, speaking of Kate Martin, to sit there when WNBA weekend's getting started and see 4 recent Hawkeyes all doing good things in the WNBA, and Kate now out in Golden State, and obviously what Caitlin Clark got to do and did on national TV on Saturday. Just the Iowa representation in the WNBA has to trickle down not just to the program, but to the recruiting level as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, now that they do have 4 players in the WNBA, I think, more than just saying like, hey, Megan Gustafson, because when Megan was initially drafted, I think she spent like a year or two kind of bounced around and then, played some overseas ball and then was able to come back. So, I mean, even just a couple years ago before Caitlin and Kate got into the WNBA, it was, hey, Megan was there a couple years. Now she's playing overseas. You didn't have a lot to point to in terms of, players at that next level. And now, Megan Gustafson's in there and Caitlin's obviously doing what she's doing. And you see players like Kate Martin and Lucy Olson, and Lucy to a lesser extent, I guess, because she started a career at Villanova. But players that weren't highly recruited out of high school, and Lucy and Kate. But Kate spends her entire career at Iowa, and Lucy spends that last year at Iowa, and they make their way to the WNBA. So those high level recruits that are really talented and really highly rated, they can see what Iowa's already done with players that were lesser known out of high school. And to me, that would be something that says, this is a program that can really develop me. But to your point about the players in the WNBA, I mean, obviously what Caitlin's doing and what I think she's going to do over the next, 5-8 years, however long she wants to play, really. I think she's going to do great things. I think she's going to win championships. She may very well get one this year. I think that Fever team is very good. But honestly, I mean, the other 3 are the ones that I wouldn't say I like better, because I loved watching Caitlin. I love watching her now, but I love to see someone like Megan Gustafson do what she did at Iowa. I mean, win National Player of the Year, bounces around, goes overseas, and really said, hey, I have to change my game. I have to be able to shoot the 3-pointer. I have to, I can't have the prototypical center type, body size. I've got to slim down a bit and be that kind of that stretch 4. It's been really cool to see her make those adjustments and become that player that can actually be a role player for a WNBA team, be that stretch 4 that can shoot threes and still be down in the paint and rebound and stuff like that. And then, Kate Martin might be my favorite one of the 4. To see her go from, Edwardsville, Illinois to people saying when she commits to Iowa, it's just because Jan and Lisa, they're just kind of giving her that offer or whatever. And for her to turn that into a WNBA, maybe a career. If she can stick around for a couple more years, at least maybe a 4 or 5 year career, that's pretty incredible from where she started. And obviously, like I said, Kate, a great person, great player, someone that I loved covering at Iowa. And then, Lucy Olson is similar. She said that she only had those Philadelphia school offers out of high school, and she goes to Villanova and spends 3 years there, plays behind Maddie Segrist, who's in the WNBA now, has that breakout year, and then comes to Iowa. And shows at Iowa that the Villanova wasn't, it's just the Big East type thing. She can do it at the Power 4 level. And and then she makes the Mystics roster. I mean, for Kate and Lucy to go from where they started, the day they stepped on a college campus to being on WNBA teams, those are the coolest stories, to cover and to see them go from where I started, from when I started covering at Kate Martin, or when I first, saw Lucy Olson, to see them where they are now. It is really cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun to see. Kyle, I think the Fever are winning the WNBA championship this year. I mean, they were good last year with Aaliyah and Kelsey and obviously Caitlin, and then you add what they added this year. I mean, they proved from the jump, and now it's a long season. I get all that, but I invested wisely. I believe I invested a little bit ahead of everybody else, and I invested wisely. With the Fever.
I know it's just one game, and I know the Sky are probably supposed to be lower end of the standings this year, but I mean, to win by what they win by 35, 37.
Yeah.
And Sophie Cunningham did not play a single minute because she is hurt.
Yeah.
So to have someone with Sophie Cunningham's talent level, to not only, like I said, I think I said this a couple shows ago when I was on, to have her coming off the bench, but then to have her not play in the game and you still win by 35 or 37 points, that's pretty impressive. So obviously, I think, like I said last time, they have to stay healthy, and obviously Sophie being hurt is kind of the first owner. So hopefully this isn't like a trend for other players or for the whole team. But man, if they stay healthy, to win by 37 in your opener and have one of your key contributors, out, that's pretty impressive. And like I said, I think Caitlin's jump this year, from her, whether you want to call it a freshman year in the WNBA, that freshman to sophomore year jump that you see in college and the WNBA level, I think that's going to be a huge boost for them.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us right now. Kyle, a friend of the show, you've been on several times. And towards the end of the women's basketball season, I'm like, all right, we'll catch up with Kyle now and then. And it became a lot more than now and then because the baseball story was so fun. And it was something that more eyes got to. Didn't end the way Iowa wanted. I guess your thoughts on this weekend. I would say for me, the overriding headline watching some of those games this weekend is more impressed with Oregon than disappointed with Iowa. But in the same breath, you can't really say that because Iowa fans are a little disappointed because they really wanted that Big Ten regular season championship. You were there all weekend. Great crowds. Your thoughts of the weekend that was in Iowa City?
Yeah, looking at both sides, starting with Oregon, if they win the Big Ten tournament, which they've got to be pretty heavy favorites to do, they're going to be a national seed. They're going to be a top 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think they're playing as well as maybe as the best in the country right now. They've won 17 of their last 20 games, and that's not against quad 4 opponents. Swept Washington, swept Iowa, swept Oregon State in 4 games, took 2 or 3 from UCLA. They're beating some really, really quality opponents, and they're sweeping some quality opponents, and that's not even counting in they swept USC. I believe that was to open the Big Ten season. They swept USC. So you go back to there, and they've got a couple of big wins there. I was impressed with Oregon. That team top to bottom, that lineup. There's not one single player in that lineup where you say, okay, I think we can take a break here. I think we can get this person. This could be a double in the gap. This could be a home run. That's how good their lineup is. And their pitching staff is no different. Grayson Grinsell was phenomenal in that Thursday opener. He's pitching, potentially made a case to win Big Ten Player of the Year, or Pitcher of the Year, I should say. That what he did the last 5 starts of the season, allowed 6 runs in 38 innings or something to end the regular season. But on the Iowa side, like you said, disappointing finish because they were so close. I did look back to the D1 baseball, their preseason projection. They had Iowa 9th. So to finish in 3rd is just so far above the expectations that they had for this season. But still, when you do get to that point and you need just one more win, and really they only needed one more win over those last 2 weekends. You go back to the Washington series. Had they taken 2 out of 3, they would have won the Big Ten title.
Yeah.
Had they gotten 1 from Oregon, they would have won the Big Ten title. So when you look back at that, it is disappointing. But to see how far they've come from those preseason projections to go from 9th to finishing in 3rd is impressive. What I will say, and Rick Heller mentioned it on Saturday after the game, to an extent, I just think this team might be just running out of gas to a certain extent. You look at a team like Oregon, and they can come out in some of those, they play some of those lower level Big Ten teams or some of those midweek games, or maybe a couple of series that they played in non-conference, and they're a good enough team. They can come out and play C-level baseball and win a game still. And we knew coming into the year that this Iowa baseball team was not going to be one that was going to hit 100 home runs like in Oregon. And we thought the pitching staff could be good. but it was going to be a team that could not give up a lot of free bases. And you knew that every time they went out, they were going to have to give 110% to win a game. You weren't going to be able to give 60% like in Oregon or any of those high-level SEC teams and win games. And you've seen it where Iowa maybe puts together a B- or a C-level effort, and they lose to an Illinois State. Or they lose 3 out of 4 to a Washington State. So you knew that this was going to be a team that had to give basically 110% in every game. And they did. I mean, for a stretch of 34 games in the middle of the season, they went 28-6. And started 20-4 in Big Ten play. I mean, they grinded out a series at Michigan where they swept the series. They turn around, they sweep Indiana and Iowa City. They stacked so many games of 110% effort, 110% effort, 110% effort. These A+ level efforts to get to where they were. But at a certain point, I mean, 110% takes it out of you. When you don't have any of those games where you can give that 60% effort and still get away with it to maybe conserve some energy for that next weekend. So the tank starts to run on empty at a certain point, and I think that's what you're seeing with this Iowa team. I do think going back to that Washington series, had maybe they grinded out and won the series or swept, because that was certainly on the table with the way those games played out, I think they could have kept the momentum going. But as soon as you start to feel that first little bit of, man, the tank's starting to run empty for us, and then you lose a couple of close games, then it starts to snowball a little bit. I think you saw that, made a couple of errors against Oregon State that were uncharacteristic, and you've started to see the free bases tick up a little bit with the pitching staff, and the offense has been struggling a bit. I think they're just burning out a bit, and as disappointing as that is, it's just kind of what happens when you have a team that has to give that 110% effort every game. As soon as those first couple of losses happen, when you start to feel a little bit of fatigue on the season, it can start to snowball. But that shouldn't be something that leads to a bad effort this week in Omaha. And Rick Kelly said he told the guys, go fishing, go find something to do that isn't baseball over the next couple of days, and try to recharge just as much as you can before you head out to Omaha and head out to practice. They're practicing on Tuesday today. Before they go out to Omaha, and maybe they can find something, just a little bit of extra fuel in the tank to make a good run in Omaha. And I certainly think they can. You saw them build a 6-2 lead against Oregon on Friday and just let it slip. But I think they're certainly going to have to play cleaner baseball. They're going to have to put together a little bit better offensive performances. But I would like to see them just find a little bit extra in the tank to at least make a run in Omaha to a semifinal or a championship. Just to not go quietly, because this has been too good of a season to have a pool play exit or a poor effort in a semifinal game. They've done too well to get to the point that they were at a couple weeks ago, to have it end in a sour taste where maybe they only win 2 out of their last 12 games or something like that. Yeah. So I think if they do make a run in Omaha, it would at least give you a good feeling to the end of the season at least.
No, absolutely. You look at it, I think that there's a couple big questions. One, somebody asked me, I don't know, this weekend, they're like, after all was said and done, they're like, they're done. They can't make the national. And I'm like, they can. They just got to go do something really good at the Big Ten tournament. With that being said, how healthy is Iowa? And that's something that they've been snake bitten by the last 2 weeks, especially last week as well. How healthy are they as they get ready for the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, I mean, Reese Buter was able to go on Saturday against Oregon. I think it was 2 2/3 innings, and then was taken out at that point. So obviously not near 100%. Gave it a go and gave it as much as he could. Again, it'll be playing it by ear to see if he feels a little bit better this week. Potentially might not pitch until a Saturday, so could get a full week off, which would be good for him. Kind of that normal rest. I don't. Again, it's going to be tough. It might be very well day of the game. Day that he pitches. What can you give him? Maybe they go in saying, hey, let's hope he can get 3, and maybe he can go 5. So I think his is going to be really just play it by ear, even into the start, and see how it goes. So hopefully maybe he feels a bit better this week to give him a little bit lengthier of an outing. And then obviously Ben Wilmus did not play against Oregon. Not quite sure what his status is going to be for this week at the Big Ten tournament. But for him to be out, for the whole Oregon series, it leads you to believe that maybe he's not going to be available this week. And even if he is, it might be something like a pinch hit situation or maybe an inning or two somewhere. I would be surprised because of the implications of the Oregon series. Had it been, they've already wrapped it up, or no, they aren't, they can't win the Big Ten title and they're just trying to finish those games out before the Big Ten tournament, maybe they would rest him. But due to the implications, I mean, if he could have given anything, whether it was a pinch hit at bat or a couple innings here or there, I think he would have done it. So that leads me to believe that his status going this week is very limited, and maybe we see him in a pinch hit at bat or two. But I would be surprised if we see him get any starts of any kind or something like that. So yeah, it is unfortunate. It happened last year, and it happened on a wider scale last year. I mean, Kyle Huxdorf was out, I want to say the last 20, 25 games, 18, 20 games, something like that. And Sam Peterson played maybe a quarter of the season healthy before his leg injury happened. And, Kate Obermueller missed a start or two, and Brody Brecht wasn't 100% for a couple starts. So they dealt with it last year on a much larger scale, and that cost them in some spots. But unfortunately, just, the implications of this season and where they were at in the standings, to have a couple of injuries or setbacks, really with Reese Buter was more of a setback. To have that happen in such an important stretch of the season was disappointing. But to your point, you said, do they have to win the Big Ten tournament to get in? I would probably say yes. I think they're, potentially if all the bubble teams really struggled in their tournament games, their conference tournament games, and Iowa got off to a 3-0 start where they beat Rutgers, they beat Indiana, and then, UCLA could be that potential semifinal opponent. That would be a big win. Yeah. Maybe they get the RPI up into that 58-60 area. But I just don't know that 58 to 60 would be enough unless the bubble teams just all had a really awful week to really make it look really bad for all of them and good for Iowa to at least make a run. So I think they've got to win the Big Ten tournament, which brings up some scenarios of how does Iowa want to do it with the pitching staff this week to try to win a Big Ten tournament. I can't remember if we've discussed the potential opportunities with the way that the pool play structure plays out.
We haven't.
There are some
interesting. Can you break it down a little bit, because it is interesting?
I think it's certainly. I think based on we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Based on what's happened since then, I think the situation for Iowa has significantly changed. I think there are some considerations that they have to make at this point.
No, absolutely. Look at game one. Is it Wednesday?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, Wednesday against Rutgers. Iowa just, in my feeling, they just need to see a victory. I mean, yes, they haven't lost all of their last games, but the tie with Oregon State is a tie. How important is it? Obviously, it's the Big Ten tournament. You can't, start too slow. But how important is it just to feel right and have a good, maybe get right game against a Rutgers as well? Not just sneak one out or get one out, to go out there and just kind of flip the page and play well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because that's where you bring in the pool play structure and how do you want to play it? Because where Iowa is, with being the top seed in the pool, they can get through potentially with a 1-1 record. So, if Indiana goes and beats Rutgers later today, mm-hmm. and, all of a sudden Rutgers is 0-1 coming into that Iowa game, Rutgers can't advance. They cannot advance unless they go 2-0. So if they're 0-1, that game is meaningless. Iowa has to beat Indiana to get through. So whether they lose to Rutgers or beat Rutgers by 1,000,000 runs, it doesn't matter. It comes down to that Indiana game. So if Indiana wins, I could see a situation where Iowa treats it like a midweek game and starts someone that has been pitching in midweek games, and then that would set them up potentially to start on Friday against Indiana and just play it like it's a normal weekend series if they can try to get through all three of those games to the championship. Now, if Rutgers was to win later today, that would give the situation where the Rutgers game would be the important game. You beat Rutgers and you're through, and then the Indiana game doesn't matter. And I think you could set it up differently there. So to your point about, just wanting to get a win, I agree with you. I think they really do need to see, it's kind of like in basketball. You need to see a shot go through at some point. But if the situation presents itself where Indiana wins that game, to me, the coaching staff has to know. I mean, Rick Heller has coached at Iowa long enough to know that the way the RPI works out, the way the situation is, that they probably need to win the Big Ten tournament. So if I'm Rick Heller and I'm sitting there watching that Indiana-Rutgers game today, I'm saying whoever loses this game, we have to set up to face that loser in a way where we just treat it like a midweek game. Cade pitches against whoever wins, and if it's Rutgers, he pitches against Rutgers on Wednesday, and if Indiana wins, he pitches on Friday against Indiana. Just to save as much pitching as possible. In digging a little deeper into that type of situation, I think Iowa would root for Indiana to win. Because then the Rutgers game, you would know right off the bat, our Wednesday game is the meaningless game. And you can almost treat it like an actual midweek game because it is on a Wednesday. Yeah. So you could throw, a couple of those guys that have been pitching in midweeks. And if there's a guy that you feel like you can get away with, we probably don't need him against Indiana. You can throw one of your weekend guys on a Wednesday and he can still be ready to go on a Saturday or a Sunday if you get to the championship Sunday. And they have enough arms because obviously they've had to play midweek games all season they would have enough arms to pitch a game on Wednesday against Rutgers and potentially get through it like it's a midweek game. And then if you got to Friday, of course you'd have to beat Indiana. Otherwise there would be no weekend series type feel. The season would just be over. But then if you did beat Indiana with Kate Obermueller on the mound, you'd be able to turn to Aaron Savory in a semifinal, and you could turn to Reese Buter, even if it's not 100% Reese Buter, turn to Reese Buter for 3 or 4 innings and try to go from there. So to me, if you really want to go for it and go with the try to treat one like a midweek game, I think you would root for Indiana later today, just because I think that sets you up to play it as well as possible, like a normal week of the season. If Rutgers wins, then obviously you have to treat Wednesday like it's the Friday series opener. Yeah. And then you get to treat Friday like the midweek game, which I think messes up the schedule just a little bit. Because then you wouldn't really want to throw any weekend guys in that Friday game, because, if they throw more than an inning or two, they're not coming back on a Saturday or Sunday. So I think you would root for an Indiana, just because it might set you up the best if you do really want to run with that scenario. But we'll see. Like I said, I think it's something they're considering. But until we see what happens in this Indiana Rutgers game, we have no idea, because that game will dictate what game matters most for Iowa.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us. One more before we let you go. You kind of tipped your hand a little earlier, and Iowa fans are hoping it's a good week and a good weekend in Omaha. But who wins this thing at the end? Is Oregon just that good right now that they got to be the odds-on favorite to win this thing, don't they?
Yeah, I would think so. Maybe if they stumbled in a little bit, I think they're the most talented team. I think they're more talented than UCLA. So maybe if they stumbled in a little bit, maybe not. But they've, like I said, won 17 of their last 20. I think it's 21 of their last 26. So really, the second half of the season has been pretty unbelievable for them. They're up to 4th in the D1 baseball rankings. So they're the favorite to me. It does suck for a team like Michigan State that, they do have Joseph Jerwa, who beat Oregon through a 4-hit 9-inning shutout against them in East Lansing. Unfortunately, Jerwa has to pitch against Nebraska in that opening game, because they have to beat Nebraska to make sure that Oregon game matters. So they'll be at a disadvantage with not being able to throw their best guy against Oregon. So I think Oregon is the team to beat. You look at the other groups, UCLA is with Michigan and Illinois. I think Michigan could be I think Michigan beats Illinois. But I do think that Michigan UCLA could be interesting. I would still pick UCLA to win. Michigan's been trending in the wrong direction. I think they lost their last 2 series of the season. Illinois lost their last 2 series. They got swept in 2 series, and then took 2 of 3 from Ohio State, but finished Big Ten play 2-8 with both of those wins being Ohio State. So Michigan and Illinois trending in the wrong direction. So I'd look at UCLA in that group, and I do think Iowa gets through. Whether it's 1-1, again, like I said, if they win that midweek type game, maybe they go 2-0. But again, it doesn't matter whether it's 1-1 or 2-0. I do think Iowa gets through to face UCLA. The group that I'm really interested in is that USC, Washington, Penn State group, that 4-5-9 group. Washington made a run at it. Took 2 of 3 from USC and took the first 2 to make that Sunday game a play-in game for that top 4 seed, which we know how important that is. USC won that game, but Washington still did get 2 out of 3. The thing that stands out to me about this week is that, Washington was last in the Big Ten. In Big Ten play, they were last in runs scored, but they were first in team ERA, so they did a really good job pitching. But the weather this week at Charles Schwab Field in Omaha is not supposed to be your normal Big Ten tournament weather, where it's 90 degrees and you can hit balls out of the park because the ball travels. The stadium generally plays a little larger than others, other Big Ten stadiums. And it's supposed to be, mid 60s, upper 50s and cold wind, breeze, things like that. That may play into a team like Washington's hands, where they have a good pitching staff that already knows how to limit offenses, and a team that knows how to scratch out runs. And it's gonna feel like Seattle, Washington in those games. So I would not be surprised if Washington found a way to win, go 2-0 and win that Group D. Would set up Washington, Oregon. But yeah, long answer to your question. It's going to be Oregon, in my opinion. I do think Iowa's going to make the semifinal, and if they do the situation that I said, you'd have Aaron Savory, who's been very good this year. You'd have Aaron Savory going up against UCLA, and UCLA's played some close games this year in weekend games. So I wouldn't count Iowa out of that, but again, it's going to have to be a better effort than it's been the last few weeks. They're going to have to find, like I said, some of that gas left in the tank to make a run. But if Iowa can, flip the page to, like you said, and put together a good effort, I think they can be a team that can make a run, because we saw them through the majority of Big Ten play as well as anyone in the Big Ten. So I think it's in there, but it's just a matter of what do they have left to get to that effort.
It's funny because the way you talked about Oregon is the way people talked about Iowa 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. They're going through that stretch where they're Iowa, what they were in maybe the middle of the season in the Big Ten, or beginning in the middle of the season. It's funny when you talked about your how it plays out to the semifinals. It's the Pac-12 in Iowa if it plays out that way, which shouldn't surprise a lot of people. That's what made this conference so much better than maybe in recent years, is those additions in baseball. Very, very good. Last one before I let you go. How is your golf game? Because we're 4 weeks away from the biggest event in golf history here in the Quad Cities.
I've went to the driving range once a week for the last 2 weeks, which isn't a really long streak. Probably won't be able to find time this week in Omaha. But I'm gonna try to get out to the driving range once I get back, and try to get a couple more weeks in of some practice for the tournament. I'm feeling okay. I feel like I've figured a couple of things out with my swing over the last 2 range sessions. So we'll see if I can dial in some consistency before that tournament. But I'm excited. This will be my 4th year. I don't even remember. It's been several years now. So.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Tom went to the range this weekend, he said, and it doesn't matter about you or Tom. Dennis is there, and that's all you guys need is Mr. Hole-in-One himself. I mean, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we can get a couple of hole-in-ones from him, I mean, we'll be looking good. Well, it'll depend on what other groups are kind of lying about their score, because there's always a couple of groups that do that.
There it is.
If they're listening, they know what groups are lying and cheating. But that's sometimes hard to overcome. But
those Illinois
I'm
guys,
excited to go there.
Those damn Illinois guys.
Yeah. The Pat Anger group is always, a couple shots more than I think that they should be, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm going to get a couple more range sessions in before we get to that tournament and see how it goes.
I love it. Hey, enjoy your time in Omaha. If people are wondering how to catch, and I retweeted something or reposted, whatever you call it nowadays, something this weekend from Iowa City, because I complained on yesterday's show a lot and I shouldn't complain, but I had 16 youth baseball games this past weekend. So that's how I caught up with what was going on with Iowa baseball, is checking out Kyle on social media. So check out all of his stuff on the Hawkeye Report. Give him a follow on social media as well. It'll be well worth it. Enjoy your time in Omaha. Bring back a championship if you can.
I'll try my best. I don't know if they're going to let me check in the game to get any at-bats or any innings. So I don't know that I'll have a hand in it, but I'll try my best.
I love it. Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. That is Kyle Huesmann heading to Omaha. It'll be a big week for college basketball, and a lot of news right now when it comes to Iowa women's basketball as well. So we always appreciate Kyle. Coming up next on the show, it's a big weekend of state track in Des Moines, and it's a good big weekend for the current athletes, but it's also a huge weekend for a former great from Assumption. Joy Ripslinger is heading to the Hall of Fame this weekend. The former Assumption standout joins us next right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
The PGA Tour swings into the Quad Cities again this summer, and you don't want to miss it. The John Deere Classic brings golf, music, magic, and more to TPC Deer Run, July 2nd through the 6th. Wednesday, July 2nd is Youth Day, and ages 15 and under are free all week, making it perfect for the whole family. Stick around after the golf on the weekend for the concerts on the Course Series, featuring country superstar Dierks Bentley on Saturday, and Grammy Award-winning Zach Brown Band on Sunday. Come for the golf, stay for the party. Visit JohnDeereClassic.com to get your tickets before they sell out.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. It's a great time of year. A lot of people, when I was covering sports in the area, always thought like football season or even basketball season, March Madness, was our busiest time of the year. The busiest time of the year is really right now. Spring sports have hit that stretch run postseason and a lot of sports on both sides of the river. And one of them being track. State track in Iowa is this week in Des Moines. A lot of area athletes will be looking to win state championship, win state medals, but there'll also be a Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and there'll be a very familiar face being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. And we're lucky enough to be joined by her right now, former Assumption standout, Joy Ripslinger, joining me right now. First and foremost, Joy, how are you? And thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. I'm living out here in Washington, but I'm excited to spend the weekend in Des Moines. So I'll be there soon.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about that career of yours in a second, but you get a phone call. I don't know if it was a phone call or an email, whatever. How did you find out that you were a Hall of Famer? And I guess what was your initial response or reaction when you found out you were heading into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it was a phone call a few months ago from the Iowa High School Track Association, the big long acronym. Yeah, just letting me know that I was going to be inducted, and told me some of the other athletes that would be joining me, some other familiar names too. And yeah, I guess I wasn't sure if it was something coming soon. I know my sister Rose had kind of a similar timeline from when she graduated to being inducted. So super exciting and such an honor, and really excited to kind of take a trip back down memory lane and just be back at Drake Stadium. It'll be a fun time.
Absolutely. Back down memory lane. I'll take you down there now. 9 state titles, 5 second place finishes, 3 state records, 7 Drake titles. In 2017, you won the 400, 800, 1500, 3000, all in the same track meet. To hear those numbers now, and when you're living it, you can't really you're focused on doing other things. So removing yourself from it and looking back at it, when you hear those numbers, Joy, what goes through your mind? That's awfully impressive.
I can't believe I did those things. But I think in the moment it was just a combination of so many stars aligning between my coaches, the team that I had at that time, my family, my support, just so many things were going right during those years, and it was such a blast, man. It was such a fun time, and looking back, I'm proud of the performances and the team that I had. It was such a cool time in the Assumption track history to be a part of.
You look at that resume. Does one race stand out amongst the other races?
Ooh, man. I mean, the 800 was always my favorite. So that was, what I was really trying to thrive in. And when I had to race, all the other races in these big meets, it was all kind of tailoring, my energy around the 800. And sometimes I had a lot of energy for that race and sometimes I didn't. But I think one that sticks out was the last race of that final state meet where I had clinched the four separate titles. That was an exciting race because I was done with all four of those races that I poured my heart into, and also it was just a really cool accolade, I guess, something really awesome to achieve.
Joy Ripslinger joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Joy, it's a special place. Drake Stadium is the blue oval. You track athletes strive to get there, want to get there, spend a lot of time there. When's the last time you were there? And what's that place when you think of Drake Stadium and that blue oval? What does it mean to you?
Yeah, Drake Stadium is a special place, being that it was the Drake Relays, also the state meet. The 2 times of the year where you're really trying to perform your best. A lot of hard work put onto that blue oval. The last time I was there was sometime during my college career. I went up to watch some teammates run at the USATF meet that was hosted there in the summer. But man, it's been a long time, and I'm excited to be back in that environment. It'll be fun to see it again.
You think about the Assumption track program, and obviously people look at track as such an individual sport with you going down center stage, all that kind of stuff, the finish line, but it is a team sport, and you ladies had so much team success. Kind of talk about that at that end of it, because you mentioned your supporting cast and the people that supported you, not just coaches and family, teammates as well. Those were fun years as a high school athlete, weren't they, with your teammates?
Yeah, and I think at that time I didn't realize how special it was to have a large group of young ladies all at the same time that were able to put together numerous relays and just like unending possibilities of all these races and relays. And I don't think that comes around very often for many teams. Sometimes you can piece together, a few people for a relay, and then you've got some alternates, but we just had so many talented ladies throughout the 4 years I was there. And I think looking back, I can see now that was very rare and special.
This year, you'll be going into the Hall of Fame, and it's your old coach, Tim O'Neill's last season at Assumption.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about him, kind of ironic, special that, his last state meet will be your Hall of Fame induction meet. What did that guy and all the coaches, but especially Tim, going through his last go-round at Assumption mean to you?
Yeah, I think it is ironic and really special that we can both celebrate some awesome accolades at the same time, and I can spend some time with him, and we'll probably grab dinner in Des Moines and relive some moments, I'm sure. But yeah, Tim O'Neill was just a monumental piece of that team, and has been for many years, 25 years. But I give him a lot of credit for my success, and then being able to be a collegiate athlete at a high level. I think he was the one who set me up for that, and I'm so grateful. I can't thank him enough for all the work that he put into helping me become a great athlete. So yeah, it'll be fun to celebrate him as well. He's put in a lot of time to the sport. It'll be cool.
Absolutely. Joy, when you go to Arkansas, and that's one of the biggest stages, obviously, in track in the SEC. I know you battled some injuries throughout. Kind of update people on your college career, and obviously, while the injuries are frustrating, just probably the foundation you got here at Assumption in the Quad Cities probably helped deal with what everyone deals with in life, which is obstacles and those kind of things. Kind of talk about Arkansas and your college career.
Yeah. So Arkansas was a fantastic experience. Obviously, there were some bumps in the road. I didn't compete very much at all, actually, but I loved the university. I met so many lifelong friends. Northwest Arkansas is also really beautiful, and just kind of the bottom piece of the Ozarks, just like really some really beautiful nature down there. But kind of how the years went. I completed my degree and got a master's degree within 4 years. So that was cool. Did a lot of studying and schoolwork, but I competed a good amount my freshman year, and then had an Achilles issue in the first 6 months of that freshman career, which took some time to recover from. And then after recovering from that, had another pretty significant back injury that also required surgery. So a lot of just recovery during that time, but I was a part of a team that won a few national championships, and I got to experience that and be part of it. Not contributing points per se, but it was also another awesome team to be a part of. I feel lucky that I was there and got to surround myself with some high-level athletes at Arkansas.
Joy Ripslinger right now joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I got to cover a lot of Ripslingers. In fact, Joy, I always make the joke, there's like names that if I got a dime for every time I said the name, like I could retire. Ripslinger is one of those over like a 6 to 8 year period where I felt like if I said that name enough, maybe I could retire. Your sister, obviously, an amazing career of her own. What was that like growing up, kind of following her footsteps and maybe being Rose's little sister before you became Joy Ripslinger?
Yeah, I think no one knew what to expect from me, even myself included, and my parents would even say the same way when I started high school. Obviously I knew Rose was incredibly talented, and I don't think I was intimidated. I didn't really know which sport I really loved, which one I wanted to pursue that much, but did soccer and track for a couple years, and then I ended up dropping soccer and continuing with track. But I think she set a good pace for me, and I think set the bar high. And I didn't really know what I was doing at first, but I guess I just had some talent for running and ran with it. But I think it was cool that we both kind of had our own niche, separate talents. She was more of a sprinter, and I could do some of the long distance stuff. And I never felt like we were compared too much. We both had our own thing, and it was great.
No, it was awesome covering both you young ladies to both be Hall of Famers. That's rare. It's not neither myself nor my brother are Hall of Famers. So it's not normal that's something that's got to be cool to share with Rose, that you guys are both now Hall of Famers.
Yeah, it's so special. Yeah, I think we both look back at our high school days as being just so much fun, and we were able to share 1 year of it together in high school. And I think it is really special. We will. It's probably one of those things that you say as a fun fact when you're introducing yourself in a group of people. It's pretty cool.
No, it's definitely cool. A funner question for you, maybe one that I'm curious about. How annoying was the media every time you run away, for you to be breathing heavy and for us to be there sticking our microphones in your? I mean, I know my my wife, when I first started doing this, was like, why do you guys always make those poor athletes when they're doing the, you got used to it though. And here's the thing, Joy, you were never breathing that hard. Like, I felt like I was breathing harder chasing you down than you were breathing after you ran a mile or two. So what was that like? Did you get used to us bugging you and putting the microphone in your face when you're breathing heavy all the time?
I don't think I was ever annoyed by it, but I think it was kind of it means you did a good job if you're getting interviewed after. So it was always a good thing. Yeah, I had a great experience with all the reporters in the Quad Cities, just people who were so intentful and like, just were following and knew all the things and made us feel special as athletes. And that was a huge part of it too.
Yeah, well, you did a good job of needing us to interview you because you did a lot of winning in high school. Some fun questions for you. And even back, let's go back when you were an athlete here at Assumption and you had to like cheat meal wise, food wise, or you just won them. Was there a place where you're like, okay, we just won this or I'm starving, I'm going to go there and pig out?
Yeah, I mean, ice cream was always a big one, which I still miss to this day, is Whitey's ice cream. That was usually a definite
What's your order?
choice.
Do you remember your order?
Chocolate peanut butter Revel,
Ooh.
something like that.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely in the shake form. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I do still order that when I go back. But I mean, just like Italian, a big old bowl of pasta and whatever I want. That was always a good reward meal too.
I love it.
Yeah.
When you, if you could have, speaking of food, if you could have dinner with anybody you ever wanted to have dinner with in this entire world, who would it be and why?
In the entire world?
Yes. These are the tough questions that I never asked you when you were in high school. You're not in high school anymore. I can ask you the tough questions now.
Do you remember what I said in high school?
No, I don't think I asked you this in high school. That's when I finally get to ask you the hard questions. So anybody.
Oh, gosh. In the whole world, I mean, I would probably say Jesus would be the number one. I think that would be a pretty cool person to meet. But aside from that, I mean, there's some pretty cool professional athletes I would like to meet. Shelby Houlihan's someone that I would like to get dinner with, especially with her story right now. And she's always been someone I've looked up to athletically too.
Love it. Were you superstitious when you ran races? Did you have certain things you had to do? Or were you not that bad when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I was never very superstitious. I feel like I kept my cool pretty well, which I don't know how I always did that. I think I definitely got like cotton mouth, dry mouth before a race. I was always trying to like get a little swig of water as close to the start line as I could. I feel like I always had to kind of force down a breakfast a little bit, but other than that, no like specific traditions other than just the warm-up routine that I was taught, and it led me through all the races with no injury all those years. So I just kept doing it. No big superstitions really.
I love it. Okay, last one for you. I'm going to take soccer off the table as well. So you can't do track and cross country either, and you can't do soccer. If you're going to do another sport, what would it have been and why?
I would say sand volleyball.
Okay.
I think that would be a super fun sport because you're probably outside and in the sun. And if I was a little taller, it would probably be a good choice. But sand volleyball, I think, would be my next favorite.
I love it. We'll save the best for last. I want to ask you because recently you are a married woman. So kind of talk about that. Congratulations. And how is married life for you?
Yeah, so no more Joy Ripslinger. We talked about hyphenating the names, but I am now Joy McGettigan. So McGettigan Ripslinger would have maybe been a little too long, so I dropped it. But it's been fantastic. I've been with Seamus for 4.5 years, and we're together up here now, and he does quite a bit of travel for work. But it's been great. Got married back in Iowa on March 1st, and the rest is history. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big couple months. First you get married, now you go to the Hall of Fame. 2025 has been good to you, young lady. Keep it up. It's a good year so far.
Yeah, it's been exciting, and I'm sure there's more to come, but I'm really excited to be in Des Moines this weekend and see family and just celebrate some good times.
I love it. And I thank you for doing this. As I joked with you when we got onto the Zoom, man, you can't be 26 years old. I'm not going to believe it. I'm not buying it, because it seems like just yesterday you were running at Assumption and doing great things. So if that makes me even older than I already feel. So I'm extremely proud of you. Congratulations. Enjoy this weekend. You've got an amazing family. Tell Rose, tell your entire family I said hi, and enjoy it. Okay? Enjoy it this weekend up at Drake Stadium.
I will. Thank you so much. This has been fun, and I look forward to checking it out on the air.
I love it. I love it. So that is Joy. Now, Joy, say your last name again, because I introduced you wrong. What is it?
It's McGettigan.
McGettigan.
Yeah, McGettigan.
I love it.
Little Irish. Yeah.
There you go. Joy McGettigan joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Joy, we appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Too. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Always great to catch up with one of the best that I got to cover in Joy Ripslinger, McGettigan now. And, of course, keep an eye on that this weekend when she's up in Des Moines entering the Hall of Fame. We got much more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. A fun Tuesday so far. Obviously, great to have Joy Ripslinger McGettigan now. Joy McGettigan on the show. She'll be heading to the Hall of Fame coming up this weekend. And it is a huge week for track, a huge time right now for track. Of course, state meet co-ed wise in Iowa with the boys and the girls coming up starting on Thursday. The girls take center stage in Charleston this week. The boys will follow. And on the college level, busy time as well. And it's been a successful one, including for this young man joining us right now, former Moline standout, now down at Illinois State, Rob Pulliam joining us right now. First and foremost, young man, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me.
It's been a good time for you. Obviously down at Illinois State. Just recently, you won the Valley Conference High Jump Championship. Kind of take me through that. What made it this? I think it was a runner-up finish last year. Am I right?
Yes, outdoor I came second. And this indoor I was third.
Okay. So what got you over the hump? What was it that got you over the hump?
So honestly, with me, what I think it was just I had some very great competition, coming in these years before me. A lot of these guys, were some guys that had COVID years and extra years, kind of had a little bit more experience than I did. So, it was definitely tough, but I was able to, pull it out, come through this indoor, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a great experience too.
Take me through that experience and what did it mean? What did it feel like that moment when you realized that you had gotten over the hump and won that conference championship?
I can't even, it's almost like, it's very hard to explain that because it's just all the work that I had put in before, with me coming in fresh off of basketball my freshman year, not knowing too much about the sport. And then, just learning so much within these last 3 years. It's just amazing feeling. I finally feel like I accomplished one of my goals, coming in. I wanted to be a champion in the high jump. So, yeah.
I hate to compare and contrast, but you were a state champion. If I'm not mistaken, 2001 at Moline. 2000.
Yeah.
2000.
It was
2003. 23. I'm 21. I'm sorry. 2021. I'm way. It's a rainy Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah. Can you compare and contrast the two, the feelings, the moments? Obviously both very special. So I ain't making you pick one, but compare the two of them and how it felt.
If I had to compare the two, I would say with the state meet, that was my first, that was my first ever state meet. That was my first year of track too. So I was a little more nervous going into that meet. I know my dad had mentioned, like, you look so focused during the meet. And I'm just like, nah, like I didn't want to lose. I was trying to make sure I cleared every bar I could. So yeah, that meet, I was a little more nervous going into that meet. But with this meet, I'm just with me, being here, this is my third outdoor my third outdoor championship. So I was like, I had a goal coming into it, kind of had to come into it with a little chip on my shoulder. But yeah, I definitely think that I was just more so confident in this, to come in and just try to get the thing done.
Former Moline standout Rob Pulliam, now down at Illinois State, joining us right now and off the air. Talk to me about your journey in the sport. You mentioned basketball. I remember covering a lot of basketball with you. And now doing this, talk about your journey into track and field a little bit more and maybe focusing on what you're doing right now.
So, my junior year, I had picked up track right after basketball season. I had come off a decent basketball season, but I was, very athletic. I was known for, playing above the rim and, getting up. So coming and doing track, that was, my dad kind of mentioned, hey, I think you should go try it. Let's go try it out. Once I figured it out, started to figure out my event with the high jump, I just started falling in love with it. Almost the same love I had for, basketball. So it was just, once I, could figure out that, hey, I'm pretty good in this, I can do this. So, yeah, once I figured that out, it was just kind of all in from there.
Yeah. You mentioned dad a couple times, and there's been a great support system for you, I'm sure, and coaches and all that kind of stuff. Even, I guess you even got to give Coach Taylor credit on the basketball side of things. I hate giving him credit for anything, so hopefully he doesn't hear this. But talk about that support system. And you mentioned dad a few times, and I know you cleared the bar. I get it, but it takes a team and it takes a support group, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, the support it's always been crazy, especially, with my parents. My mom and dad. My dad, he, for a minute, especially during basketball season, my dad was my trainer. So like I was my dad, even though he might not have known track just as well as basketball, he still knew that, I had the tools that I, could go and be good in the sport as well. So yeah, my dad, he was very big support system. He's always pushed me to, get to the next step, get to the next level. So yeah, big shout out to my dad for sure.
You mentioned next step, next level brings me to my next question. What's next? What's next step? What's next level? What's going on with Rob Pulliam?
Hey, I got a year left. I'm going to try to come back again next year, and defend the title, of course. I also, do 2 events as well. I got long jump and triple jump as well. I've been doing pretty decent in the long jump. I hit 2 top 10 marks, 2 top 10 history marks for a long jump. So I'm probably going to try to come back next year and try to get a medal in the long jump, try to step out into another event, because I've got one goal. It's time to, switch, kind of redirect and go for another one. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. You mentioned the basketball side of things, and you weren't part of that state championship team, but you were part of that state championship team, if that makes sense, with the foundation and everything. So I want to talk basketball with you for a second. Did you feel part of the nets being cut down, all that kind of stuff, because of laying that foundation and being part of that program for so many years?
I actually did. I really did. I was there. I went to the game before that game at the U of Illinois.
Yeah.
But when I was there at that game, just watching that game, I'm standing up, I'm on my toes, tippy toes the entire time, just because I'm almost wanting to jump out there and get on the court, But yeah, no, the year before that state championship, we heck of a season. But as far as like the work we put in, I think that carried over into the next year for them to be able to go and get that done. Their confidence was through the roof the entire year, and you've seen that within their record. So yeah, no, that was definitely great.
Yeah, you were definitely part of it. I got to talk to you about some little point guard that you played with, named Brock Harding. Is he, and I know him pretty well, so I can ask this question, is he as brash in practice and as confident? Is that a word? Confident. Okay, hell, is he as cocky in practice as he is in the games?
Brock, he is the same exact player you see on the court in those games. He is the same exact player in the practice on the court. He plays 100% all the time. No matter what's going on, no matter where we're at, it doesn't matter if it's just a pickup game. Brock's gonna leave his all out on the court, no matter what. And that's something it's stuck with him.
Okay.
With him, he's gonna continue to do that no matter where he goes. So yeah, I was glad to share a court with him, to be on the same team as him. He's a phenomenal player, phenomenal person. He's a great kid. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You can answer these next 2. You don't have to. Do you have a good Brock Harding story that you can tell us?
A good Brock Harding story.
If you don't, no big deal. Don't get him in trouble.
Here, I'll tell you this. This is probably something I haven't told too many people. We were in practice, and I was guarding Brock about top of the key, and he calls for a screen. I look over for the screen, and he goes the complete other way, and I'm back on my butt, fall down to the floor. So yeah, he's put it on me before. So
have you gotten the best of him?
Plenty of times, one-on-one, in game practice. Yeah, we both went at each other. So I honestly, he helped me get better as a player. I pushed him to make him better. So yeah, no, he's a great kid.
I asked Trey Taylor earlier this year when I had him on if he had a Sean Taylor impression, and he did. Do you have a Sean Taylor impression?
It's my best Sean Taylor impression. I have to think. There's so many things that man.
You could write a book.
Oh, I'll tell you what. He told me, he still owes me, so I hope he sees this, but he told me, you get a putback dunk, you get a free steak dinner on me. So he owes me a steak dinner.
Don't let him off the hook. We'll call him out right here. I'll put this all over social media. You're getting a steak dinner next time you get back into the Quad Cities. Okay, now that leads me to my next bunch of questions. I like to have some fun questions. They're getting redundant, but I love them. You're an athlete. You're probably watching what you eat and making sure if you're going to cheat one day and just get after it, what's your cheat meal that you have to go hit?
I'd probably say JJ's Fish and Chicken. I'm gonna get a piece of fish. I'm gonna get some shrimp, some fries. That's probably my favorite meal. A little lemon pepper and Cajun seasoning on top. Okay. Yeah.
We were just at Douglas Park this weekend, and my kids asked me, like, is JJ's good? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. So I think we might have to introduce them to. I like that. If you could have dinner with one person, no matter whoever, dead, alive, anyone in the world, who would it be and why?
I'd probably pick LeBron. LeBron has been an idol for me, since a very young kid. I've had the Cleveland jersey. This is probably his first Cleveland jersey, when I was super young. So, just watching LeBron through all my years of life, he's definitely an idol, somebody that I look up to. So I definitely want to have a dinner with him.
Yeah, it would be cool to have dinner with the second best basketball player of all time. If you see what I'm saying. If you see what I'm saying. If you do you get it? All right, I'll leave it at that. Are you superstitious before an event, before a meet? And if you are, what are the superstitions?
Usually I just gotta have my music. I gotta have my music during the warm up. As I'm warming up, I gotta have my music playing in my ears, kind of get the blood flowing. Listen to the music, get the energy up. So
no, that's good. My music. All right, last one for you. If you come back to the Quad Cities, what are the things you miss about here besides family and friends and all that kind of stuff?
I would have to say,
and JJ's fish and chicken. Besides that.
I would probably have to say Whitey's ice cream.
Okay.
I always come
What's
back
the
and
order?
get Whitey's.
What's the order?
I get a Smurf shake.
Okay. You're a 5-year-old. Okay, that's cool. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, I've been stuck with the Smurf since I was young. I can't get away from it.
No, I love it. I love it. So, Rob, I appreciate you doing this. I shot him a text really late last night and said, hey, you want to come on some show? And he's like, absolutely, let's do it. So I appreciate you doing this. Best of luck. Stay healthy and be well. Best of luck in the future. I appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right, that is Rob Pulliam, the Valley High Jump Conference champion down at Illinois State. Great to see him doing big things after the high school level as well. We got much more to get to. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Willie Radio. The PGA Tour swings into the Quad Cities again this summer, and you don't want to miss it. The John Deere Classic brings golf, music, magic, and more to TPC Deer Run July 2nd through the 6th. Wednesday, July 2nd is Youth Day, and ages 15 and under are free all week, making it perfect for the whole family. Stick around after the golf on the weekend for the concerts on the Course Series, featuring country superstar Dierks Bentley on Saturday and Grammy Award-winning Zach Brown Band on Sunday. Come for the golf, stay for the party. Visit JohnDeereClassic.com to get your tickets before they sell out.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. Tuesday, May 20th. Thank you guys for watching on YouTube and X and all over the place. We really, really do appreciate it. And if you missed any of the episodes in the past, you can check them out on the YouTube page as well, and all the podcasting platforms as well. So a lot of fun today. A few things I want to kind of get caught up with. The Blackhawk softball team. About ready to get started. They won their first game yesterday, beating Delaware Tech 8-0. They get Jones at noon. So that game coming up in less than a half hour here. So check that out as well. We wish them the best of luck. Right now, Illinois playing in the Big Ten tournament for the baseball team. They are leading Michigan early, 3-0 in that one. So once I wrap things up here, I'm going to go get some lunch, come upstairs, get some work done. We'll watch some baseball. So a good afternoon, a good rainy spring day to do those kind of things as well. Yesterday we told you Sydney Affolter was going back to the University of Iowa, is going back to the University of Iowa as a grad assistant. Today announced that Emily Ryan doing the same thing at Iowa State. She'll be a grad assistant for Bill Fenley. That's pretty cool to see as well. So back-to-back days that good people to keep in a program are going to stay and begin their coaching careers in the state of Iowa. Just recently announced the Fever Sky game, what was it, Saturday, 2.7 million viewers, the most ever on ESPN platforms. It peaked at 3.1 million, up 115% from last year. The Caitlin Clark effect in full swing. So, and I always say it is Caitlin. She is the driving force behind it, but it also sheds light on the other talented young ladies playing in the league as well. And it's an entertaining product, to say the least. So, very cool for that, and good to see that as well. If you missed any of the show earlier, Kyle Huesmann was on to talk about the Iowa women's basketball program, a little WNBA, and then a lot about the Iowa baseball team. Of course, they were looking for that first Big Ten championship in the regular season since 1990. Did not happen the last couple weeks of the season. Now they go to Omaha, probably needing to win to get in the NCAA. So they play tomorrow, but check out all Kyle's stuff if you missed it earlier in the show. And then some familiar faces today. Joy Ripslinger going into the Hall of Fame at the state track meet this weekend, joined us to kind of look back at her career as well. Recently got married, all that kind of stuff. So awesome to have Joy Ripslinger on the show. And then just caught up with former Moline standout and Illinois State track standout, Rob Pulliam. He recently won the high jump at the conference tournament for the Valley. So awesome to chat with him. Really, really enjoyed that conversation. So if you missed it, go back and check that out as well. Coming up tomorrow, it is Steamroller Wednesday. We're going to figure out how to get these wheelers back on track, and we will do that. So more with the wheelers coming up tomorrow. Also, I'm going to try to convince my good buddy Tom Caker to chat, because he went on the road this week and checked out some high school events, so some recruiting news and all that kind of stuff. That and much, much more. We got a lot to get to this week as well. Programming note, if you will. That it's too big of a surprise, but I'm giving myself a 3-day weekend. So next Monday, Memorial Day, there will be no show. But we'll be back next Tuesday with a bunch of fun stuff. So anyways, that's next week. We have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to get to. We'll have a bunch of fun. We want to thank you guys for watching, listening, however you are participating in the show. We greatly do appreciate that. And also we want to thank our fantastic sponsors that allow me to do this silly little show each and every day, 10 a.m., off the air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you back here with another edition coming up tomorrow.